Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests, I was sitting at a small round table when an arm descended over my right shoulder and thunked down a piece of paper. It was a permission slip. A permission slip? Now your first thought might not be, wow, I haven't forged my mom's signature in decades. I'm not sure if I still can. My second thought, I am 54 years old. Why do I need a permission slip? I glanced up at Cheryl, my voice coach. It's a permission slip. You've been thinking about training your voice for decades. Why haven't you? She was right. Why hadn't I? It was my choice to dream but not act. It was my choice to not face challenges until I felt I was ready. The problem was I never felt that I was ready. I never felt that I was educated enough. I never felt that I had accomplished enough. I just didn't feel ready. What about you? Have you let other people's needs and conveniences step before you in line until there wasn't energy or time for your life, for your hopes, for your dreams? What are dreams compared to reality, compared to paying the mortgage, to raising a son? Have you forgotten that you are significant in your life and those around you? I had. When I decided to become significant again, my first step was allowing myself to do things horribly. I did this naturally as a child. I was a competitive ice skater, and I would try and fail over and over again for months until I perfected a jump. When I allowed myself to do things horribly, I allowed myself to grow. I allowed myself to change. And I allowed myself to gain new skills, to master new skills. What about you? Maybe one of your first challenges was riding a bike. My father taught me to ride without a helmet. Helicopter parents hadn't been invented yet. He took me out in front of our house, which stood on a hill, and gave me a push. I did not know how to ride this too big black and white hand-me-down bike. I would go to the bottom of the hill, swerve off onto the grass, and fall over. A little bit after that, I learned how to turn the corner. I had many failures learning to ride that bike, but each failure was a step towards success. My second step in significance was when I started to allow myself to be seen and heard. When I was young, I was extremely quiet. My first Toastmaster speech was a moment of silence. A couple of years ago, a group of us went out to eat. We went for pizza. It was an enjoyable evening of eating and chatting. Near the end of the evening, the lady next to me stood up and said her goodbyes. I completely forgotten she was there. She hadn't said a word all evening. I realized at that time that I had been just like her for most of my life. I had been hiding and silent. I had been living my life as if it were a whisper and not a statement. Has your life been a whisper and not a statement? My third step into significance was when I learned to say no. I was a mortgage closer for many years, and when I started I was young, dumb, and I never said no. The processors loved me. They would be running out the door at the end of the day and throwing files on my desk, rush files. And I would be stuck there with all these unexpected files. And usually I would not be able to finish them before the last FedEx pickup, so I would take the closing packages to the airport. One day a processor from another team came over and asked if I would do a rush file for her, and I agreed. And I did the file, and I took it back to her desk, and she looked at me and said, "Aren't you going to take it to the airport?" Something in me snapped, and I said no. The first time I'd ever said no. Well, she had to figure out what to do on her own. She went to her manager. They scheduled a special pickup, something they never did for me. But after that day, I began saying no. I began to realize that my family was as significant as theirs. My getting home to my child was as important as them getting home to theirs. Brian teaches that everyone should have a long no list and a short yes list. Do you have too many yeses on your list? Because if you do, it is crowding out your dreams and what is important in your life. What aren't you giving yourself permission to do? How are you not showing up as significant in your life? What are the dreams that have escaped you until now? Now is the time to live, not as a whisper, but as a statement. Now is the time to decide, to sign your permission slip.